a Master of Sciences and a PhD at the University of Witwatersrand, where she was trained in the methods of archaeology. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please help me welcome to the stage Bongekile Zwane.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope you've been enjoying your day. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm excited to share with you guys what I do for my work. And my presentation today is just going to be focusing on what I do. And I won't be focusing on just one day of my life because I was just so excited to share everything that I do. I'll be breaking down my life as an archaeologist and explaining to you what exactly is entailed in my line of work. And if you take away anything from my presentation today, I want you to take the following things away with you. Is that to be an archaeologist, you basically need an inquisitive mind, steady boots, and the right tools to do your work. You need an inquisitive mind because what we do as archaeologists is we answer questions, basically. Very deep questions about our existence as humans. And what you need to do to do that, to address those questions, is basically go wherever you need to go to in order to answer those questions. And so you need the steady boots and you need the right tools to take with you to wherever you go. Just to cover the basics, archaeology is basically concerned with studying the human past. And what we do is we study what makes us human, the human origins, as well as how did we come to our current level of cultural development. And that's the entire scope of the research that we do. And what my contribution to that research is that I study how plants actually contributed to human development. And basically, what you need to consider in order to do my work effectively is to look at human life as being interconnected to many different things out there, as connected to nature and everything that is out there in nature, the plants, the animals, the landscapes that we live in. And you always have to think in this very complex way when you actually study human history. And basically what is entailed in my line of profession is many days, which I'm going to start going through right now. But the very first step of being an archaeologist consists of finding the sites where people used to live in the past, and that includes a lot of surveying for them, looking for them. And they can be found in many different places, from the coastal areas to the dry deserts, such as the landscape that you're seeing on the screen right now. We find archaeological sites also in mountains. There's quite a lot of them that are actually found in mountain areas in South Africa and the interior of the African continent. Some more example of some of the landscapes that I'm currently actually investigating or contributing towards the research of. Very beautiful sites. This is where you can expect to sort of work as an archaeologist, especially as you're surveying for sites. And then what comes after that is actually recording those sites and digitizing their contents. And we use very many different tools to do that. For example, what you're looking at, that's me with a total station trying to record one of the sites that I've worked on in the Free State province of South Africa. And just to show you some of the cool places that you can expect to work in as an archaeologist of any kind, archaeological sites are basically found in many different formats. They can be open-air sites, they can be found in rock shelters, for example, that one. They can be proper caves, and some of them have very stunning views, like the one that you see at the bottom of the screen over here. And right after finding these sites and actually recording their location, what usually comes after that is the excavation for the actual contents of the sites. And that is basically the recovery of the different bits and pieces of the lives of people who used to live in the past. And then after that comes the sorting of that material, and the reason why we do that is so that we can send different material culture or like the different materials to different specialists in order for them to actually study and tell us what are these materials that we're finding back in prehistory or in history. And now I'm going to focus on my specialty, which is archaeobotany, and that is the study of plants from archaeological sites. And what that means is that I am one of many people in the field of archaeology who is concerned with just understanding what is the implication of all the different plant remains that we find in archaeological sites. And what I do is I basically write history through the trees and shrubs that we find, that we excavate from the past. And basically, most of my days are just basically made up of me trying to figure out how can I turn a little bit of piece of charcoal into an environmental proxy or a vegetation proxy. And the way in which I do that is I ask even more questions. How can I actually look at the structure of wood in order to understand what taxon it is? And what I do then is that I do more surveying. I look at the contemporary vegetation, the vegetation that's growing today, and I create a comparative database in order to see how the vegetation that we're finding in the past is related to the one growing today. And that involves a long list of different tools, but at the end of the day, what I want to achieve is basically creating an archive of, the many different woody vegetation resources that we have. For example, this one I collected in Malawi very recently, and I will use it to compare to the archaeological charcoal. And then a very big part of my work is concerned with doing microscopy, which involves simply looking at the charcoal remains underneath the microscope and looking at the internal structure of the wood in order to make sense of what kind of plant I have. And what you're looking at right here on the corner is just how wood looks like underneath the microscope. And from there, I can be able to relate the vegetation we're finding in archaeological sites to the vegetation we have today, growing today. And the cool thing about that is that you get to reconstruct many different types of environments in the past. Personally, I've been involved in many different projects where I contributed to the bigger archaeological research by clarifying the role of plants in, sustaining human lives in prehistory. And these are just some of the sites that I've worked in Southern Africa. And today, or currently for my postdoctoral research, what I'm doing is I'm studying a very fascinating period in prehistory when our coastline actually looked like that. Can you see that? Very cool, hey. And what I'm trying to help understand is why was the coastline like this? Because it looks nothing like what we have, which is the inner line of the map that you're looking at. And if you want to find out more about this, you can come chat to me after my talk. But basically, the work that I do is sort of like a multidisciplinary type of thing, where I get to contribute just a tiny bit to the bigger research agenda of like archaeological investigation. And that requires like a deep understanding of many different parts of nature and human nature. And just to clarify one thing, archaeological research is a knowledge-based kind of line of profession, and what we do basically contributes to sustaining our livelihoods through the archaeological archives that we build at the end of the day, through the many different reconstructions of human life that we get to piece together from the bits and pieces of life from the past. And that goes on to contribute to sustainable development. And that is the end of my talk. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Such an interesting job. Do any of you have questions? Any questions?
Hi.
How long does it take to like study before you like qualify for the profession? How many years or months does it take to complete it?
To be a specialist like I am. So what you need to do is do your bachelor's degree, your undergraduate degree, which is normally 3 years long, and then you need to go on to do your honors degree in order to have experience with just conducting research. It's always advisable to go on and do your master's, and a PhD is just, the cherry on top of the cake, but you can basically do what I do with the master's. So you definitely need those 3 degrees, which are very much attainable. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you need maths in order to do this?
Yes, it's advisable that you take pure maths, not just maths lit. You do need an understanding of, just how to quantify your results at the end of the day, because that's a meaningful part of interpreting them.
Is it working? Oh.
Yes.
Can I ask, do you get paid, like, can you get your salary scale? And are you employed by a company, or do you just work alone?
In order to conduct research, what you need to do is to be based at a research institution, which is already sort of like part of a university type of setting. So that's where I work, and that's where you'll get to work as well if you were to pursue my career. Yes.
I wanted to ask, is sorry, is this like a type of manual, what can I say, job, or like you know what I mean, like use your hands all the time, or?
Yes, you do need to be very flexible, not just with your hands. Like I said at the beginning, you need very steady feet as well. And just be willing to do whatever it takes to actually complete the research itself, because it involves a lot of like handling what you need to look at under the microscope or digging for it. So you need to be very flexible. And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Hi.
May I ask, is it like a hard job to do? Is it like a 6 to 6 job?
Very good question. I wouldn't say it's a 6 to 6 type of job. It depends on how much you get involved with the research itself. But personally, I know that I spend more than that much, but on a very voluntary basis, because I love what I do. I wouldn't categorize it as a 6 to 6 type of job, although you can get involved with archaeological work and do just a component of the work that can be done within a 6 to 6 time period.
Thank you so much.